Hey guys, today's topic is the power of silence, or also, no answer is also an answer. Maybe you have noticed by now that an action sends out much stronger impulses than what you say or what you are told. Inwardly you know exactly that words and also mere intentions are worth less than what is really done in the end. Because that shows how much you are really willing to do to get what you want. And when these two things are constantly in opposition, people can no longer take your words seriously, and conversely, you as a person. That's pretty much the ultimate negative point you can arrive at, because if the people you care about can no longer take you seriously or rely on you, what value do you have left? The feeling ultimately affects your self-worth. Maybe even earlier, because you yourself don't know exactly why you act the way you do. Why you can't get out of your comfort zone, and that's where education and how society has become plays a big role. But unfortunately you have to be pretty indifferent to that and occasionally move from your own convictions, otherwise you're just one of many. And if you really want to be that and that's enough for you, then I can't help you. Then you can't be helped. Having a strong frame means listening to yourself, not just the voice inside you that tells you you can't do something. We all have them. But to accept how we are and what we want inside. If we look at the topic of X back. That's why I made the channel, that's usually the point here. The breakup is pronounced and you think you have to tell her so much, discuss with her, pour your heart out to her, but what does this action of yours show? That you cannot do without her, that you are dependent on her, that you are throwing your self-worth out the window for her. I can tell you from experience and also by pure logic that everything shows her that she was right to separate from you. The alternative, obviously with the title, is to remain silent. Tell her once what is matter for you and then be quiet from your side. Because that shows her that you live your own life and do not need her permanently with you. That it goes on for you also without her and she got with her action to separate exactly what it actually means. Namely, that you are separated from each other. A separated social bond, no more attention for her and your interest in her is no longer there as it used to be. Humans have a hard time with this because we are hardwired to make and have attachments. Because our psyche sees them as essential for survival. The best example of this is how you felt in the separation phase. The world fell apart for you and you want her to feel that way in part when you want her back. You don't want to continue to hold her world together with her and wait until she has someone else who can do that with her and she can drop you as a friend for good. That's why we are quiet in no contact and give her the time to herself, so to speak. Looked at the other way around. Many exes react annoyed if you invest too much time in trying to convince or approach them, then they will eventually stop responding to you and dismiss you with silence. This is a natural step when your opinion is not accepted by someone and you permanently cross personal boundaries. They will then only associate negative things with you and if there is no answer to something, it will hurt you all the more. Even if you can't understand how this person, who maybe said, "I love you," a week ago, can be like this now. The behavior is what you have to pay attention to. If they don't answer anymore, it's already very late to notice that and some people do that out of principle, because they think they have to protect themselves from you. There you can then partly really nothing for it. But all this is not important. You see what they do. They do not answer you. What does that mean? That they are not interested in you at that moment, and what is the point of chasing after someone who is not interested in you? A. It only pushes them further away from you and B. You can't force him to do it. These are all things that have to come from him. Reflect his behavior if you want him to eventually change his mind about you again. That old memories and his bond with you awaken curiosity in him again. What you are doing and how you are doing, it is unlikely that certain phases will be skipped. This isn't a movie where 90 minutes of ups and downs of emotions is normal. They build slowly and you are the one who has to be positive and attractive to your ex. Like when you first met, and that includes knowing when to just shut up part of the time. Which topics go and which don't. What your action will show and what it won't. Silence is much more powerful than when you are constantly crawling up when she snaps her fingers or you are imposing. And it's the only thing that can bring something at this stage, so she doesn't think negatively of you anymore. Some coaches talk about bringing her from a negative phase to a neutral phase and then convincing her to think positively of you again. Basically, that's the way it is. Although I think it's not so much phases as it is smooth transitions. No black and white, but rather the tipping over from time to time due to internal and external circumstances. For example, oh, but he has changed. To be honest, I really like it. But he should have done it before, now it's too late. But what if it would work now? No, we've had that so many times. Do you want me to approach him again? Does he even want that? Or do I open up to him then and hurt him too much then? All this back and forth, however, is the first step she has to experience if you want her back. And you will never actively trigger it. But by not letting her participate in your life anymore, and you won't be actively involved in that either. It takes a lot of time and work if your ex dares to write to you again with real interest after the no contact. And if the question is then only, where do you buy the food for your canary, or, well, what's new with you? You can build on that but never on a lack of interest. Again, a little further out. If you sign up partially on dating apps or are in a bar and approach a woman and no answer or rejection comes back, then you also understand that apparently there is no interest in you without her having to say it big. Then you accept it because you realize that there is no point. Hopefully you at least accept it. Why should it be different with your ex? Yes, you have a common past and the bond with her is the most important thing in the world to you. But basically, from your frame, treat every person the same. Of course you can and should be more responsive to the person within a relationship, but that's what you do. That's what you feel and want. But outside of a relationship, and there you are, since the breakup, she is only worth as much to you as she is willing to give for you. Learning to read these signs is important for you within the no contact and maybe take other people to practice on when you are ready to do so naturally again. Go data. Look around out in the world with new knowledge about attraction and bonding and see how people react to you when you go through it with a plan of your own. When you're no longer always pandering or responding to every piece of crap that just takes your time. If you always stand by what you want and also accept a no, or really look at what win-win means when negotiating. Dating, love, relationships, can be compared very well with negotiations. If you arrive in the weaker position, you can only hope for your counterpart and accordingly you give yourself. If you are in the stronger position, you are responsible that everybody gets what he wants, but most of all that you get what you want. And usually, if someone has nothing to offer or wants to give too little, then you go and look for what you want somewhere else. Pay attention to such things, both in yourself and in your counterpart. And not only when you have already lost the situation. This is not a bad thing, but you need to train your frame so that you can act in this way in any situation. Keeping your ex silent within no contact is not the hardest thing to do if you want to get her back. It is actually just the beginning, and if that already seems hard to you, then you don't want to know how it will be when you end up sitting across from her and have not worked on yourself and also that part of your life. I don't want the title to mean that you ignore your ex. I want to state what your action within the no contact is: an acceptance of her desire and action of separation. Your only meaningful counter-reaction to this is to reflect and accept what this action really means to both of you. And this is true within relationships or dating as well. No interest in you, no response, silence or rejection are all not bad things. They save you time and nerves once you understand how to respond and how you can. And you can do it at the moment they happen. Not afterwards, when you hear my contributions and think to yourselves, Joe is super, would have done this once so. Or, yeah, that would have been smarter. Train yourself to do it now. The only way to do that is by doing it. So get out there and do it. Be yourself and don't react like you've been told to from an early age, but like the man you really want to be. Come out of your comfort zone, in any situation. You can do it. You are just not used to it yet. Take care and see you in the next video.